Okay.
This is food freedom. The freedom.
The advert playing on my own Twitch page. Great. Okay, so today I'm going to be looking a bit more at the Freeplay stuff. My primary goal initially is going to be to get resources reattaching to creatures, which doesn't sound like the most interesting of tasks, but rest assured, it's there for a reason. I think I'm actually in the wrong category. One sec. I need to change myself to under development. So today I'm going to start with trying to reattach resources to creatures. So basically, at the minute, what happens when you load a game or save a game, it completely ignores that a resource is being held by a creature. The reason it works okay at the minute is because the creature is standing on the resource anyway, and it just picks it back up again and carries on. So unless you're very quick to look at them, you won't notice anything in your load. However, what I want to change it to is that they're actually holding it at the point of loading. There's a very good reason for this, and this is because creatures climbing a plant to collect leaves when they're coming back down, at the minute, if you had the current system, the leaf would just fall from their jaws and it would fall onto the ground. I mean, they'd pick it up when they got to the ground again. However, I'd much rather it would just remain in their jaws. So we're going to be starting with that, which actually probably means... Yeah, it sounds working fine. Which actually probably means we need to start not in the editor, but in Visual Studio. Okay, so I should be roughly where I need to be. So I'm looking at, first of all, saving. So I think this is in save game. So this is where resources are saved. So the type, the quantity, whether it's buried or not, its position and rotation and scale. Spoil timer is something mostly used in Freeplay, although it is used in some of the missions, which basically means the food despawns after a while. It sinks into the ground if it's not picked up. This is checking whether the resource is part of another tile. So it's here that we'll probably want to act. So here what it's doing is saying is if the owner of the resource is a tile, then save the tile that it's owned by. What I want to do is an else if here. I want to say if the owner of the resource rather than a tile, I want to cast it to a creature. So if a creature owns this resource, so if a creature is holding the resource, okay, so this is the occasion where a creature has the resource. And in this case, we want to save... what I think I'm going to do is I'm going to make it so if it's a colony creature, so if it's part of a player's colony, it's going to save the tile that the holder is part of. If it's not a colony creature, it can just drop onto the floor and the creature can pick it up again. The current system will work fine for ones that aren't colony creatures. So, Yeah, I'm getting over a bit of a cold at the minute, as you can probably tell. It's mostly gone now. So what I want to look at is I want to get the owning creature and look at its tile. Actually, I want to cast this to colony creature, not just a creature. So, UG tile. Right, let me just double check that. Let's have a look at it. Okay, that's not what I want. That's get unique object ID. What I want is unique tile ID. So it's the other one. Okay, now I've got to come up with a place to save that information. So if we follow through, this is everything that's saved about resources. So this is the assigned tile, but that's actually not what I want. I'm going to save it in a different variable. I'm going to give them a new variable. It's going to be another int32 because that's what it is. So holder tile ID. So the tile ID of the holder. And I want to give this a default value, probably of -1. Basically, because there's never a tile called that's -1. Wait, one sec, I just need to check that out, the source control. So is it EOT save game.h? Okay, so hold the tile ID. So the temp resource state hold the tile ID equals the unique tile ID. We also need to know which player it belongs to, but I believe basically because it can't be. I can basically take this. I just need to make sure that the other thing's not making use of that in a weird way. Assigned tile. What's the assigned tile? I'll just have a look at that in a second. If anyone's got any questions, just let me know. I think I can just do that. Maybe not. Okay, so that should be enough to save the information I need. Now I need to reload it, so storing creatures. Restore saved resources. Okay. So here we've got some resources. So I want to find the part where it restores it for when it's attached to a tile. Give the resource to the food storage. Restore saved harvestable. Yeah, so it's here. Give the resource to the food storage. So tiling player. So that's assign tile is greater than 0 and temp tile grid. So it's here I want to work really. So it's going to actually be pretty similar to this. So rather than assign tile, it's going to be, what did I call it? Holder tile ID. So under this circumstance, I want to get the creature that belongs to that tile and reattach it. I believe by this point creatures have already been restored. So yeah, this is creatures being restored there. So I want to get that. So temp tile grid. It's lookup tile via ID. Probably want to do this. Probably should be an if statement just to make sure. Temp tile and yeah, so it's got a functional representation. And we don't need to add food. Tenant. I think it probably is the functional representation which has the. But it's not just it's gonna be on nursery tile, isn't it? That's what I'm looking for. So basically, if it's looking at a nursery tile, then we can look at the tenant. So that's making sure it's got a tenant. If it does have a tenant, run pickup actor on our resource. Which is resource ref. Okay, so that should save and load resources into the jaws of a creature. Now, in order to test this, what I'm going to do is I'm going to test it before. Looks like you could use a cuppa, sir. I could always use a cuppa. I'd like to know if you're planning on adding enemy colonies into Freeplay mode. That's definitely on the list of things to do. It won't come in the next Freeplay update. I've got a list of things that I plan to get into the next Freeplay update, which hopefully shouldn't be too long away, maybe 1 or 2 months away. But but further down the line, we definitely intend to get it into Freeplay. Hello, Tony Bjorn. I'm sure you're here frequently. Right, so I want to test it before compiling that code that I've just done, and then test it after to make sure it works. So in order to test it, I'm gonna start a Freeplay game, which is actually going to take a minute. Let me just get this going. Probably a stupid question, but do you use Blueprint System for anything, or are you all C++? We use a mixture of both. C++ is the most efficient way to do things, and certainly we've moved quite a few of our Blueprint things into C++, particularly ones that are very frequently used, such as a big one was the ant's decision-making process. So every half a second, an ant rethinks what it's doing. I think it's less than half a second, actually. And because there's so many creatures in the world, we actually made quite a large saving when we moved that into C++. The reason being is that anything in Blueprints uses a virtual machine, and that call to the virtual machine has a tiny overhead with it. So C++ does work out being more efficient. However, for a lot of things where the calls aren't so frequent, so it's not calling it hundreds of times every half a second or thousands of times every half a second. Blueprints are just quicker, to be honest, quicker to put stuff together because you don't have to wait for everything to compile. So like the level code, like the top level code on the levels, that's do I need any settings? I don't think so. I think all I need to do is tunnel to some food and watch an amp pick food up, save it, load it, then see if then what you should see is the loaded creatures that we're getting in the minute. The food drops to the floor when it's loaded, and then the amp picks it up again. Now, with the change, what we should see is the food automatically gets reattached to the amp. Now there's going to be some funny things with Leafcutters. Yeah. See, Leafcutters have got the minims, and the way they work's a bit funny, like compared to the way the rest of the game works. Because they take resources from one resource tile, like the leaves, and they put it on a different tile, and it converts into a different resource. So I really don't know how well minims
This society is in its infancy. It must grow quickly if it is to survive.
Yeah, the army ants are very strong. The mages, their ability. I think we've changed the visual on that. That's coming in the next patch. It's going to look more like they're glowing red rather than a cloud. Okay, so I need to just turn to some resources. And the game audio might be a little bit high there. Just turn it down. I'm going to wait till the ants are nearly at the queen before I save it. Okay. Okay. So what we should see is as soon as it starts, the resource drops to the floor. Like, it'll only be brief. So I've got to keep my eye out for it. Don't blink, I'll miss it. He says blinking. Yeah, I missed that. See, it's so quick that I've got a plan to do a better test for it. Yeah, that was definitely on the floor then, because that other ant picked it up. Okay, well, we can definitely confirm that was the case there, which is what I was expecting to confirm. Now I need to compile, however. Hey man, first stream, of course, I've had the game since early access and started. And man, do I love it. Keep up the good work, dude. Thanks very much. Yeah, there's still a way to go before the game's labelled finished. Slow and steady wins the race. Okay, so I need to compile the code. Unfortunately, I think I've made a few changes to H files, which it doesn't like hot reloading. So I might have to shut down the engine for a minute. You're gonna have to give it a minute to compile whilst we're doing that. I'll have a chat. Just give it a minute so it recognises the engine's closed. It has done. Build. Question: will the army ants spawn in Freeplay too? I've been investigating. Well, thinking about how to bring them into Freeplay. Certainly in the short term, it wouldn't. I think that it'd be nice to have maybe a landmark involve them, similar to how the fish landmark involves the wood ants. It'd be nice if there was some sort of landmark with them, but I'm not sure what. I also think it'd be nice to have, like, the way they flow in the mission. It'd be nice if you could introduce that into Freeplay somehow, but I'm still not really sure how. Another way you could do it is packs of them spawn, like scouts. But I'm not sure. Well, you know what they say, art is never finished, it's abandoned. Yeah, that's true. Yeah, even when everything's done, well, even when we call the game done, there'll still be a massive list of things we wanted to get in and never did. Also, there'll be a point where there's a good case for making a new game or making a sequel instead of ploughing more time into the original. Those times will come. Oh, compile time. I think compile time is the number one cause of programming procrastination. Because you got nothing to do during this time. Well, your computer's busy. So you end up opening a web browser. I'm not going to do that. I'm going to resist. I'm going to watch it build 11 actions with 8 processes. Everyone loves processes. Oh, have we moved down? No, we haven't. So, with regards to the free play update, I had a. Let's see if I can find it. I had a list of things that I wanted to get in. We got a patch coming soon, by the way, and that's something I can definitely talk about. I can have a chat about what we've changed in the past week whilst we build this process. But I'll also talk about the things I've got down to get into Freeplay. Okay, so let's keep an eye on that. So the Freeplay ideas list. Freeplay ideas list. It's the top one on the list actually. Official Gasu is get Leafcutters into Freeplay. It's the top one. It's not an easy one because it involves getting leaf resources in there, which I intend to do through landmarks. It also involves getting the plant climbing is going to be a really tricky one. The getting the minims right is going to be a tricky one as well. There's lots of little things to consider with the Leafcutters. Oh, it's built. Just booting the engine now, but we'll get there. We'll get there. Tall tree plant. Have you considered plants to regenerate leaves over time? I think in the first iteration, the way the landmarks with the leaves are going to work is similar to how landmarks work in Freeplay now, in that they'll basically new ones will spawn around the map when the player's not looking at them. Is the game website down? Let's have a look. No, it's eotugame.com. I don't know what eotu.com is, some sort of Chinese or Asian site. eotugame.com still working. Yeah, unfortunately, I think all 4-letter websites are taken. Like, every combination of 4-letter website is taken. Finishing your dissertation, oh dear. Okay, so yeah, at the minute, the plan is to have them. The plan is to have them work like that, so they'll respawn when the player's not looking, and there'll be the large plants and the little saplings, and also to start each game with a sapling landmark on top of the player's nest, so you can get them off the ground. So yeah, that'll be the first attempt, and we'll see how things go from there. Some people have talked about having rain in the rainforest and maybe that regrow plants, and I think that's a really cool idea. But we'll have to see, because that will require a bit of work on the art assets, watching the plants grow. So are you all coding same time? What do you mean? The 3 of us working on the game at the same time? Well, actually, at the moment, me and Matt are working on it. Liam's actually having his holiday at the minute. Like, once the Leafcutter update came out, Liam had planned the holiday after that point. So there was a while after it came out, and so he can help fix problems, and then he's gone on his holiday. But Matt is currently working on bug fixes and optimizations. He's not doing any new content yet. We're just perfecting the stuff we've already got. And I've been working on bug fixes up until now, really. Earlier this week, I was working on. Next time we get to a compile point, I'll go through what's changed since last time. Okay, so what am I doing? It's actually really hot in here today. I need to open the window. It's going to get cloudier over the next few days. It's really lovely today. It has been past couple of days. You might have to deal with some outdoor sounds. The windshield for them. Oh, so there is actually a thingy for the microphone. That'll possibly help cut down the outdoor sounds. I say I'm not sure about rain yet. I'm not sure if we'll ever manage to get it in. It seems like an obvious thing to have in the rainforest. But we'll see. But people were talking about maybe having it slow down. People on the forum were chatting about that. How you would do a rain landmark. Right. Let's open up the dunes. It should still be set up. Oh, big message. Since the last update, I've been grinding the gathering level. I love it. I wonder how the leaves will spawn in Freeplay. And if they reglow, it will just disappear, or maybe the ants will be focused on the nest. Buy food, something to view. Will be restricted to the nest for a time. Like food comes in nature plants and then they grow back after some time. Or an option where the ants could place garbage at some roots in the nest to affect plant growth. Yeah, wall of text. I think initially I'm just going to have it so they spawn as the current landmarks do, so just when you're not looking. And just a new patch of saplings will appear, an old patch will disappear. But we'll see. Freeplay I've always approached as like an evolving beast. Right, so the food should still be on the floor when we start this. But as soon as an ant picks it up, an ant picked it up then, right? Yeah, an ant's got hold of food there. I save it this time. Now we've got the code in to reattach to the original ant. Let's see if that's worked. This is why game development takes so long. You make a few small changes and you've got to recompile everything and wait for it to... It looked like it worked. Hang on. If I full screen it so we can see a bit better. Stare at the screen. It's so hard to tell. Anyone else see if it's worked? Right, I'm going to hold my mouse here, which is where I think the... I think it's worked. It'd be cool to have some biohazard in the rainforest map on Freeplay. Like the tide brushing on the beach map. Yeah, I agree. It'd be nice if it did some things like regrew leaves. Like if it rained every now and again, and and rain maybe flooded certain areas, regrew leaves in certain areas, that sort of thing. Right, so I believe that's done. I'm going to call it done for now, and then it will get its true test when we actually figure out how to climb resources. Well, how to save climbed resources. See, if I wanted to add Leafcutters into Freeplay without saving, I could probably do it within a couple of days. It would actually be a really quick job. The issue is that we want to add them in with saving and loading, and that complicates a lot of stuff. Originally, when I made Freeplay, it didn't have saving and loading. Okay, so next on the agenda is the climbing. It's the climbing. Oh, do I have to do the climbing? Do I have to? Yes. Yes is the answer. Okay, so I believe I added... I was... Last time... I added in the leaf landmark. Where's my colony starting? I don't actually think I've dug to the surface yet, have I? I'll have a look where my colony's surfing. Surfing? Starting. Actually, I should probably reintroduce... So I've got a funny issue here in that I need to make another build. Like, there's a few things been added. You'll notice down in the right-hand corner here, these are just buttons for the overlays. Such as there's the creature overlay. That's the tile info overlay, but queen tiles don't give any info. And that's a food overlay, but all food's in. No, hang on. That should test the food overlay. Yeah. There's a few things been added, and we intend to release a build before. However, yeah. Okay. I need to start a game on the dunes with a leafcutter colony. In order to do that, I need to reactivate leafcutters in Freeplay. So, Freeplay setup. Here. It's just... I think if I do that, that should re-add them. Widgets. Glorious widgets. Yes. I've got to go back to the main menu now. Start a game of Freeplay from the main menu, and whilst it's doing that, I'll go over what's changed since the last update, and it's mostly bug fixes and optimizations. Yeah, it's reactivated them. I've got so many Freeplay colonies with just random smattering of letters as their name. Right, so I said I was going to go over what's changed. So let's have a quick look. That's the demo version. Normally I do a nice big message to myself when it's oh, it's before then, definitely. I'm going through the list of changes and I'm trying to find the point. Okay, so let's go from here. So, oh, it started. Never mind. Okay, so Leafcutters, these don't actually show up on your minimap as resources because they're not gatherable by you. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to dig to the surface and then save it. And then we can start by shoving a leaf landmark that I was working on last time, which do restore properly, I believe. Oh, I should build a leaf store as well. Should definitely do that. Okay, there's a bug there. You see those began. Okay, so overlay buttons. Not starting in real state. Hello, Corny. Okay, so my nest is up in the top right. Something important to remember there. So many bug puns, yes. We get them all the time. Do you have any ideas of what ant species will come next? You can look at the Kickstarter reward tiers to get some ideas of what might be coming. We're not ready to reveal anything definitive yet, and we still need to pin down exactly what we want to do with those missions. So anything I did say now would be completely pointless because it might all change yet. And I'm not going to say anything. Okay, so I need to build.
This colony must remain small for now. Food is too scarce to support greater numbers.
Build a leaf store and a refuse. Okay, now save it. Okay, I want to open the dunes level back up because we're saved in that state now. I can add a leaf landmark onto the surface and we can start playing around. Yeah, I've actually thought about treetop stuff before, because I think it could be possible, and the way you'd approach it is you'd approach it like an underground. So it would essentially be an underground, and the tree would, you climb it like a plant. So you right click on the tree, and it would have like an arrow pointing up when you right clicked on the tree to place the marker, and the ants would go over to it, climb up, and then they'd, instead of being teleported to an underground, they'd be teleported to a tree surface where they'd initially climb up to the top, and then you'd have like just a few trunks going off in a 2D plane, really. A few branches going off in different directions, and then you could control it like it was an underground. But it's some thought I've put into it. I think it would work with our current setup. It still requires some work, but I do agree treetop fighting would be very cool. Right, okay, so here, I need to shove a landmark down. So it leaves landmark. So I should just be able to put that down there. Now, I'm gonna save this, but I'm not gonna commit the level at all. So basically, I'm going to roll back on any changes I make to the level here, because I'm just making them to test the Leafcutter stuff out. But the leaves landmark should drop a load of saplings. I really don't know how I'm going to do climbing. The way climbing works, it's like a cart system. So imagine like a roller coaster that had like loads of different routes it could go, and when the ant gets to the bottom, it jumps into a cart, and it rides the cart to the end point, harvests, then rides the cart back. That's essentially how it works. And because there's so many of these different carts going to different places, it looks quite organic. It just looks like the ants are just doing their own thing, when really they're on kind of set routes. There's a limit to how many can harvest, although the big plants, I think the limit's pretty huge. I think for each leaf it's something like 8 or 16. Right, that's saved. Okay, so now if I run it, what bug did you notice? Wait for these trapjaw ants to move on. Yeah, I might be able to find their. I can artificially move them on. Where's their swarm point? Oh, they've moved on. They've moved on. Now I've got a tiger beetle. Oh. I'll just shift. We'll just get rid of these. Swarm point 15. Oh look, your spawn point's over here. Go over here. It's interesting over there. There we go. Right. Okay, so yeah, this is one of the bugs that I noticed last time. Okay, so if I save it now, hang on, I'll wait till one of them's grabbed it there. We've got one with a leaf there. What I think's going to happen now is when I reload it, all the ants should just fall. They should just fall and hit the ground. The one with the leaf should maintain having the leaf in its mouth. Which underground am I in? I'm in the underground with the right... Oh, it doesn't matter, actually. I can't do it. Yeah, so let's have a look. I need to jump. I need to get to the surface really quickly because the ants will be falling. Yeah, they fell. Did they fall? Where are they? Did they just disappear? They might have done, you know. Did I not save it properly? That's also possible. Huh. It looks to me like they get teleported home somehow. God, that's weird. Okay, let's have a read of what this bug is then. So when I return to the formicarium, Freeplay, then the ants get stuck underground. When I place a pheromone, the ants would go there, but in the nest, looking at the surface, looking at surface entrance point. It's quite annoying though. When you return to the formicarium, then all the ants get stuck underground. So what happens? You come in from the... You reload a game, and then the ants, what, they end up in a traffic jam underground? Or do they get stuck into the wall? And when you place a pheromone marker, the ants would go there, but in the nest, looking at the surface entrance point. They go to the exit, but on the surface, they get stuck. Oh right, so they don't actually come out the tunnel exit. Why do these all have low health? Right. I'm not entirely sure what you mean. Yeah, it is a bit confusing. I'm going to copy and paste your text. Is it reproducible? Is it really reproducible? Can you just... Does it happen every time? So if it is, I can probably look into it. Okay, so for some reason, the ants are they dead? Do they get destroyed? They might do. No, it looks to me like they respawn on their tiles, because the way the formations that they're in suggests to me because it looks to me like they've reappeared on their on the tiles that they were born from, which is a bit weird, to be honest. It's a bit weird. I'm just gonna make sure that I'm just gonna make sure. I'm gonna see if that happens when. There's this bug as well, which I noticed with the Leafcutters. So I'm just going to save it now and see if that happens then. Yes. Okay. So we've got some strange thing going on here. I wonder if it's only with the Leafcutters or whether this is just happening. Good to see the fungus is working though. I don't actually know if that would save properly. Oh, and look, I've got apparently 280's worth of storage, which doesn't sound right for 7 tiles. So yes, they just get stuck. Yes, most of the time in Freeplay though. Sorry, clicked on the wrong button here. The eggs look weird, stacked on each other. Something I wasn't aware of is that Leafcutters don't actually have eggs. Well, they don't go into pupa. They have eggs. Sorry, they don't pupate though. They just grow without going into pupa. Interestingly enough, that's something we missed, I think, during the research phase. Okay, so there's clearly something up with the leafcutter workers. I think I'm going to have to take a look at the code for this. What I'll do is we're going to, I think I'll run the engine through. I'll run the engine from C++. Give a minute to recognise that it's actually closed. And then we can put some breakpoints in on the saving and loading and see what's coming up. See whether it's saving incorrectly their positions, or when it loads them, whether something incorrect is going on with them. When you reload it, there's bigger eggs stacked on smaller eggs. Is that in the Formicarium or is that in Freeplay? Or is it in both? The stream just now. I can't. Was there small eggs? I'll wait till it boots back up. Anyway, I'm gonna go back to what's changed. Okay, so whilst that's compiling, fixed a bug. Comment for reference. Removed a setting that forced the game into English, even if the user was using Chinese or German. Okay, so it should go to your default language now if you're using one of the ones we support, which is English, Chinese, and German. Modified a number of main menu textures so they will not stream when you boot the game. So it will, you know, the main menu where the textures look blurry and then turn proper. They should look correct now from the off. Removed black crystals from the black ant creep. It's a minor performance boost there, but basically in the original system there was like these crystals. They've not been used for a while properly. They are still there. They were still there, but they've been taken out now. Don't think anyone will really notice. Purchase confirm UI. Okay, so that's just some localization changes. Graphical overlays now correctly show the positive benefits of and to speed tiles. Okay, so it shows the speed shows the correct numbers on the speed tiles and the tile overlays. Fixed an issue with food falling through the floor in the Formicarium Challenge 2, and added something to teleport the food to the surface in that challenge if that's happened to you. Good redrop boxes. Oh, that's the food redrop boxes. God, I didn't type that very well. Added a biohazard symbol to the upgrade overlay. I'm assuming that's to do with the refuse tiles. There should have been a fixed issue with the queen constantly, where the queen could possibly get stuck in a flinch animation, where she'd be flinching permanently. Matt says he's fixed that one. Is valid check on tug of war resource draw. So there's a crash that was submitted that has been fixed, which was to do with drawing the overlay of resources. Formicarium plants now blocked properly. So there's a bug where you could get ants stuck inside the Formicarium plants if they were fighting next to it. That's been fixed. Slight change to the way debuff position is set. Okay, so we've had a bug for a while where debuffs can be positioned incorrectly. Hello, welcome to the stream. So Matt thinks he might have solved that one, but he's not entirely sure because it's hard to replicate the bug. Reposition some victory defeat widgets to avoid subtitle overlaps. Fixed an issue where rainforest creatures could only spawn in Freeplay if woodlouse was ticked. It was a funny bug. Added button graphics to the info overlay toggles. Yeah, you've seen that in the stream. Okay, looks like the engine's nearly ready to go. Sample the floating position bug. Floating poison bug. Yeah, that's exactly it. Hopefully that one's solved. Hi, I see. In the game as an opponent. This is trapjaw ants. You mean those ones we have? It's fantastic to see them in action. So how challenging it would be to introduce them to play with these ants? Now you got a wild one in your backyard. It's some. We will discuss these possibilities soon. I mean, they already exist as a colony creature, so a good chunk of that work's done. Just, however, to introduce them as a playable species, you'd need to model a queen. You'd need to. I mean, that'd be the main one. You need to make a worker version of them. You probably want to think up some cleverer abilities for them, because at the minute, I mean, they do the flick back where they flick themselves out of trouble. However, I think there's more we can do with them, such as being able to flick your opponents away from you. They can definitely do that with their jaws. And they've also got a pretty powerful sting, right? Hi, Mike. And we'll see with them. I'm not sure yet, basically. So I can't fully answer the question. I mean, to just add them into a level, for example, if I tick a box, that would add them in to being able to be built. However, I don't think they don't have things like icons set up for them, or any tooltips for those icons, or I think they've got a price, but I think that's just because of the enemy colony has them in one of the missions. However, just adding them in like that, I don't think would be doing them justice. You want to give them their own set of. If you wanted them in the Formicarium colony, you want to be given their own set of upgrades and interesting stuff going on with them. If you wanted to play them as a species in Freeplay, they'd need a queen, and they probably need a little bit more thinking out with how they work with how their units work, and whether you want more units. The engine's booting at the minute. I'm going to go back to carrying on reading out some of these things. AI effect now forces creatures to drop creatures they're carrying. So, but this is to do with the praying mantis, and there's a rare bug that happens where a praying mantis can end up with an ant floating kind of in front of it. So that should be solved. So basically, if a praying mantis is interrupted when picking something up, it's forced to drop it rather than it just staying hovering in front of it. changed to the frenzy effect on the army ants to look more like the Uber effect. So basically the army ants, when they enrage, are going to start to glow now. Okay, looks like the engine's booted. Let's have a quick look. Yeah, cool. Okay, so I need to go back to June's level. It's not. Still see it, but it's worse for me. Before the bug fix, the floating position was at the back of the nest. Now it's at the front. We make the army ants a playable species. See, army ants would be a funny one because the way they operate in nature, they kind of form a nest out of their own bodies. Very cool, but it doesn't really fit in with the mechanics that we've got going on. I've had some ideas of how you might be able to do that, but it's a funny one. I think they're more likely, if you added them as a formicarium species, you could do it that way, so then you didn't have to deal with giving them a nest. We realise people want those two ants because we picked them because they're two very cool ant colonies. However, it is tricky to get certainly army ants in with our current game rules, and also we've got other things we want to do as well. Okay, so what am I doing? Okay, yeah, so yeah, we've got that problem. Now the question is, okay, so what's this location roughly? So 18,000, 15,000, 46,000, and 46. 18,000, 15,000, and 46. So, gonna set some breakpoints in the code to do with restoring creatures. View creature. First, remove all default creatures. Okay, so this is what restores the creatures. Unfortunately, most of these are going to be that's a swarm creature. Temp swarm creature. So that's not a colony creature, it says. This is if it's a colony creature. That's an else if. This is if it's... Yeah, okay, so this is the normal creatures. These are the colony creatures. So I'll put a breakpoint in there. If I run the level, it should trigger that breakpoint pretty quickly. I want to see if the ant location that it's trying to restore is roughly near the queen, or whether it's where it should be. So I want to know what that is. minus 17,000, 15,000, and 15. That sounds roughly close to the queen, doesn't it? Okay, so it's trying to restore them close to the queen. Another thing that I'm really confused about is the health situation, because they all seem to be on like one health. They are on one health. They're on exactly one health. So my guess is they're not actually restoring properly. They're being... Okay. So there's... If I remove that breakpoint now... I'm just going to remove that breakpoint and do stuff in the... Oh, the breakpoint's already been removed. I believe... If I have a look at the nursery tile... Okay, hang on. I'll come back to chat. I haven't... It looks like Mike's taking over, answering some of your questions. Sorry, I haven't been there for a while. Vegan edition. Vegan edition where just eat plants. Maybe have a vegan option where all food turns to seeds. Thanks. I'm glad you're excited about for the next update. Wasp. Right then, so here we've got this is, I believe this is the spawning events, the loading event, sorry. Have a quick look at this, see what we get. No, did that not trigger at all? Or is it, it's triggering for a specific debug object, which I don't want it to do. A specific object. I hate it when it does this. Basically, it seems to just pick one at random, which is pointless. Oh, but this gives me some clue. Maybe. Might be that there's... Actually, I can probably see where these are. No, that's right. remember how you force it to not pick a debug object. There is a way of doing it. Basically, the reason why it's not triggering is because it's looking for it on a very specific object. See, it's done it again. Daft thing. Right, instead I'm just going to go old school. Remove the breakpoint. Break. Sorry. So therefore it should just spew out a load of information about locations that it's getting. Okay. So $14 different things. Which makes sense because it thinks I've got 2 queen chambers. Which is another bug. Right. God, this is confusing. I'm going to need to go over these. There's quite a few bugs with the Leafcutters in Freeplay. Maybe it's a hidden food tile. Maybe it's to hide food tiles and ants on the map. What is? Sorry? Oh, the tab. So the Leafcutters don't need food tiles. They use leaf tiles. What? Right. There's definitely something funny going on with the with these 2 queen chambers. So I think I'm gonna. I think that might actually be the root of this problem. Now thinking about it. So we're going to go right back to there. Instead of trying to dig into the locations and that's coming out, we're gonna go into this one. Speculation. Yes, the good old velvet worm. Matt is determined to get that in. but at the moment we can't promise it'll make it in. The reason it was originally meant to be in the Leafcutter update, but we did some pruning at some point because we realised how much work it would be to get it in, because it has to move differently to other creatures. It has to be targetable differently to other creatures. And Matt actually did a fair amount of work on its movement, and I think he almost got there with it moving correctly, Velvet Worm. But the AI, there'd still be a load of AI that needed to be done with it, and all sorts. And at that point, we were locking things down for Leafcutters. We didn't want to be upsetting the balance of the way the levels were or anything like that at that point. Sometimes you've got to prune a few features in order to get things out in a timely fashion. Doesn't mean they're gone forever. Even if it only makes it into Freeplay. The problem is, if you introduced it into those levels that we've got, I think it was just meant to... No, I think it was meant to be in both, actually. But if you introduced it into those levels now, it would upset the balance of the levels. No one's ever really gone. Yeah, and of course, the way the Velvet Worm attacks is very unique as well. Sticky projectile. Okay, so what was I doing? I've lost track. It's a problem with jumping over to chat. What was I doing? Oh yeah, I was going to look at the UI issues. Okay, so I'm going to follow the trail down. So chamber assignment dialogue. Let's have a look. I believe this is all done with blueprints, this actually. Activate marker groups, blah 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 blah. Remove those no longer with us. Sad face. Okay, so here we are. Thankfully, there's only one of these, so a breakpoint should actually work. So I've only got one chamber. This is a queen chamber. Now, it should be a Leafcutter queen chamber. And that one's a Leafcutter queen chamber. Okay, so a queen chamber and a Leafcutter queen chamber are being added. Let's have a look at that issue that you were talking about with the mini egg. I reckon this is all linked. You are right though. We've got the by the little egg. Are you talking about the one that with him with the right? Okay, this might actually be causing part of the issue. The minims are they spawn. I'm not sure if they're loaded actually. Let's see how many are spawned. I have no idea whether the minims are loaded. They're another thing that needs to be considered. Looks to me like there's the right amount of them. Yeah, it looks like there's only 7 of those. Oh yeah, the old they were built in the old engine when we were making our own engine. I particularly like the Titan Beetle. It was a really nice model. I wasn't too keen on the Scorpion that we had, but the Titan Beetle was nice. Although we could do a better job of the Scorpion now. We've got the you've got this kind of strafe movement working with the whip spider. The scientists are really human ants controlling a robot of a human. Okay, so problems. Despair. So I guess the question is, no. Let me see if it re-adds them when I move them. And if it still adds the other one. Definitely something very strange going on. That's 1, 2. Okay, so move them. Leafcutter Queen Chamber. Ah, interesting. Leafcutter Queen Chamber. Put them in the same group though. Leafcutter Queen Chamber. Huh. Ice Marker Group Panel 1. Okay, now they're both in Marker Group Panel 1. Leafcutter Queen Chamber. Nope. Puzzling. Most puzzling. It is right. I do have 3 rooms. I've got 3 rooms. What if I delete them? The minute I'm kind of stabbing in the dark, I've got to kind of focus this one down. Okay, so now I don't have 3 rooms. Now I've got 1 room. And it's saying I've got 2. Interesting. So I think that must be where the problem stems from. In fact, it thinks I've got 2 rooms. It's room 64. Room 64 again. Right. We'll go for a nice orangey colour. Orangey, yellowy. Yellow. It's yellow, isn't it? It's not orange. I think I can probably rely on these being the real ones. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So I ran that 6 times. And I thought they all had 7. That just might be the refresh running for each marker group. That'll be what that is. But that means it only thought it out. So if it thinks it's got tiles in the room, Let's see what it thinks they are. Because I'm not convinced it was giving me the right information a second ago. It thinks they're all Leafcutter Queen Chambers. Ah, Queen Chambers. One, two, three, four, five, six, yeah. So this might be to do with pre and post load. I could speculate, but this is going to take a while. Yeah, we've got there's very much a hardware restriction that we have to face up to. Certainly with the way pathing works in our game. In our game, each hand has full pathing, which allows them to move around freely. There are other things we can do still to save space and be more efficient, but we're never going to get to the millions that you'd have in a leafcutter colony. I've been through all of that, haven't I? Okay. Well, it definitely thinks they're all Leafcutter Queen Chambers. I think somehow a room is created that shouldn't be. It isn't removed. Because this is, if you think about it, this is the first time we've ever removed a Queen Chamber in the game. And we're forcibly doing it. We're removing the Queen Chamber and putting in a Leafcutter Queen Chamber in its place. That unfortunately didn't really give me any information. So it gets the rooms. Remove those that are no longer with us and record array with any new options. I don't think it ever runs this, so it doesn't remove anything. So it's looking, yeah, it's looking at whether it should be in that group, adding it to stuff, and removing stuff that it thinks shouldn't be there. I reckon if I broke that there, that would appear to solve the issue, but it won't really. Oh, no, I am wrong. Still thinks there's 2 queen chambers. Okay, well, that's different then. So it's not to do with it thinking there's a normal queen chamber and then there's a leafcutter queen chamber. It's literally producing 2 leafcutter queen chambers. Reps for some goodness knows why reason. It's showing the right image, isn't it, on both of them? They're both showing leafcutter worker image. Yeah, they're both showing the leafcutter worker image. It actually wasn't the original plan. It was something Liam decided to do when he came to making it, because I believe he actually recorded a couple of voice lines for a very brief Leafcutter trailer. But I think he changed his mind when he actually came to making it and decided to he completely redid it all. It wasn't like we could just reuse the same stuff from previously, but I think he wanted it to I think it's good in one it's good in one way, because you see how the game's kind of evolved from the previous update. Oh, what am I doing? Okay, so Definitely thinks I've got 2 rooms. Right. I'm going to run it, then set a breakpoint, then move a thing, and then see if it thinks I've got 2 rooms at that point. I think it probably does. Set a breakpoint, move a room, breakpoint triggered. Yeah, definitely thinks I've got 2 rooms. You see it running through the same bit of code twice. I'm assuming this is looking at the other room. Yeah, it is. It's drawing the same conclusion. So, why does this room exist? That's what I need to look into. What is it that populates the rooms? Maybe it's in the code. It might be in the code. Let me just have a quick look. Room. This is to do with. I'll bring you in. Bring you guys in. This is to do with saving the rooms or saving the game. Turn us in. So it's just saving, I believe, yeah. So it's saving the room group. So it's literally just saving the call to arms assignment of that tile. What's this? This is in loading. Okay, so when we load, we are still running from this, so we could potentially put a breakpoint in. Room marker number equals room group. So it adds the tiles to a room. Yeah, it'd be great if you could just say, don't spawn 2 queen chambers, like Iron Man. Friday, stop spawning 2 queen chambers at the beginning. You never see Tony Stark debugging. Chambers a knackered boss. No, functional decal. Tony Stark did it in a cave with a bunch of scrap. But sorry, chat. I'm not Tony Stark. Right. It's 1 o'clock now. I need to have lunch. So I think I'm gonna stop the stream there for today. I'll probably come back on tomorrow with a solution to this problem. Because I'm going to spend the rest of the day bashing my head against the computer screen until it stops spawning the queen chambers. If I bash my head against the computer screen enough, it'll give in. I'll get there with this. I'll figure this darn thing out. Because before I can properly load climbing onto plants, we really do need to solve this problem. Some sort of fundamental issue with leafcutters. It might even be due to the minims as well. There's such a big range of things that this could be. Anyway, we'll get there. We will get there. I'm going to go get my lunch and then I'll come back to it with a fresh mind. But for today, that will do for the stream. I'm sorry we couldn't end on a victory, but I will start the next stream explaining what the problem was. So you can all look forward to that. So yeah, thanks very much for joining me. Thanks for all your questions and all of that. And I will see you next time. Hopefully I should be able to stream a little bit tomorrow. So hopefully see you tomorrow. Yeah, tomorrow is Friday. Cool. Yeah, 2 steps forward, 1 step back. Indeed, indeed. Right, so see you next time.